Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Mining Modern. I'm Corbin Hostler, and this week we are playing Black-White Stockpile. That's right. It looks like Black-White tokens, and don't get me wrong, it is Black-White tokens, but it's actually much cooler than that. We've got Hidden Stockpile in the deck. We've got more tools to help Black-White tokens be this late-game deck, rather than just, cards that aren't good top decks later, and you hope you draw the right things. Now, I want to make sure that I do give credit here. It was Michael Siembor who top aided the SCG Classic with this, and I wanted to go ahead and shout it out because it's pretty sweet. Now, unfortunately, our hand gets a lot worse when our opponent takes Bitter Blossom from us there, because Bitter Blossom was, quite frankly, going to be very great for us. So that is unfortunate, but we'll see what we can do here. Drawing the second Sorin, not exactly what I wanted to do. That said, depending on what my opponent's follow-up here is, it might be okay. They're probably just playing Jund or what have you over there. And Dark Confidant's pretty good, but we might be able to handle this, actually. And it's an awkward time to draw that Inquisition. Sure wish I could have played it last turn, but I cannot. So I'm going to go ahead and fetch out my basic planes here, and we'll cast this Spectral Procession and go from there. Alright, so the bad news is that our opponent had turn 1 discard, turn 2 Dark Confidant, the Jund Dream over there. But, the good news is, for us, right, this Dark Confidant's gonna draw them lands, not deal any damage. But I was gonna say, hopefully they take some damage from their Confidant. We get to get in there in the air with these spirits that, Spectral Procession is a very good card against the 1-for-1 removal of Jund. So, depending on what they have here, if they're turn 3 players like a Liliana or something, that's not very good. Then we get to play Sorin, and we get to give our creatures +1/0 and lifelink. So we're even ahead in a race situation. And it is Liliana. So this honestly might work out okay for us here. Each player discards, huh? I kind of want to discard the Inquisition. Look, I'm never going to get a chance to play the Inquisition. It's not going to impact the board, really. I'm going to tap out for Sorin next turn, and the next turn after that, after my opponent, I assume, kills my Sorin, I'm going to need another threat, and that's where the second Sorin's going to come in. And nice Spectral Procession is pretty good here as well. So, alright, so here's the plan. We're going to just play out our Sorin, plus Sorin here, send 2 of these at Liliana and 1 at them, I believe, because it's fine, I suppose, if my opponent wants to attack back at Sorin and use a Lightning Bolt to finish it off. That or we're going to get Blood Braided. So maybe I should leave 1 back so we don't get Blood Braided. Alright, that's what we're going to do. Or I could send all 3 of these. Nah, I don't like that. Alright. I just don't want to lose a Blood Braid Elf here. So I'm actually going to leave 1 back, and I'm going to send 2 of these to the Liliana so we can get the Liliana off of the board. So we don't have to discard either of these cards we have because they're both pretty good. Getting some life, not irrelevant either. But this actually works out just fine because, remember, Sorin says your creatures get +1/0, +0 until your next turn. That means this is still a 2/1 flying lifelink spirit. So if my opponent has the Blood Braid, they're going to have to Blood Braid into a removal spell to actually be able to get at Sorin here. They do obviously have Blood Braid. The actual perfect Jund game over here, by the way. We might still win, but Inquisition into Confidant, into double land reveal off Confidant, into Liliana, into Blood Braid. All you need is a Blightning, but instead you hit the perfect spell off of your Blood Braid. Oh, man. Well. Yeah, this got difficult. Honestly think we were doing okay. If they'd hit pretty much anything else off that Blood Braid Elf there, give us an extra turn with our Sorin. In fact, if they hit anything else there and we're able to threaten a block, they don't even have good attacks at it. I can probably minus it. Yuck. Alright, well, all hope is not lost here. Because I do get to play another one. I can't play it with the Path to Exile here. Need the white mana. But, look, I can get in with my creature share. I can get in for 2, put my opponent down to 15. Like I said, this game is closer than... We're pretty far behind on paper, right? Our opponent's at 15 life. They've revealed 3 lands to their Dark Confidant now. That's pretty convenient. But look at it this way. If they do something to the board that isn't kill all of our creatures, we get to untap, play Sorin, attack for 10. You know, that's pretty good. That said, it seems unlikely to matter. Our opponent just has to be swimming in gas over there, right? They're going to have a Thoughtseize for our Sorin. And we're going to have a removal spell, and then we're just going to Bloodbraid us again into a Fatal Push. Okay. Well, you know, hitting Fatal Push off of Bloodbraid is not the end of the world for us. We to get in for 8, put him down to 6. It honestly is not bad. And my opponent can probably just kill their own Dark Confidant. But remember, our tokens are a problem. Yeah, it definitely makes sense they're attacking here. But you know what? I'm going to let them. Because what do I care about going down to, what, 15 here? As long as that last card is not a Thoughtseize, I think we have a chance. Well, we did it, actually. Inquisition, not Thoughtseize. Inquisition gets our path to exile, but our opponent is not out of the woods here by any means. And that's a nice draw. All right, this is the turn. My opponent's tapped out. Plus on Sorin. It's just so good because they have lifelink too. I mean, not only are we attacking for 8, putting our opponent down to 6 with the Dark Confidant active over there, it puts us right back up to 23. My opponent finally took damage. They revealed a Lightning Bolt to their Dark Confidant, so they're down to 5 with 5 cards in hand. We have a Sorin at 5 loyalty. That'll be gone. But we have a Spectral Procession to follow it up. If we draw a land, we can activate Vault of the Archangel. Not that I really need to. At the moment, anyways. Alright, so my opponent takes out Sorin, puts me back down to 20. But they're still at 5. They have 4 cards in hand. We have 4 flyers in play. And Tarmogoyf doesn't do it. My opponent needs to remove their own Confidant or they're going to be in trouble. Intangible Virtue, huh? Look at that. Yeah, I go for it. Well, the intangible... My opponent has 3 cards. The Intangible Virtue... I'm thinking they have something like Abrupt Decay and Lightning Bolt or Assassin's Trophy and Lightning Bolt or whatever. You know what? If it's Assassin's Trophy, that wouldn't be so bad. Because then I could still Spectral Procession in the second main phase. I don't even know if they're playing Decays anymore in Jund, right? My opponent is slated to come back at me for 14. I don't think that's going to kill me. I'm going to take this line. I think it's going to work out okay because, look, either our opponent doesn't have 2 removal spells and they're just dead to our flyers here, or they do and it's like, you know, kill a spirit or don't kill a spirit. Either way, I guess. Kill Intangible Virtue, go down to 2 or 1, depending on what the rest of their hand is, and then try to kill us. Now, that did resolve. That gives my creatures Vigilance, which is also not irrelevant, especially since my opponent let me attack with them. So that actually might just do my opponent in here. Even if they have the trophy now, plus the thing, and there's the bolt, sure. This is still lethal coming at them, though. And they have push. Well, you know what? That's exactly what they needed. But that said, it's unlikely to be good enough because now they're down at 1. And yeah, I can't cast my Spectral Procession, but they have 1 card in hand. Here comes Bob. Treetop Village, wow. Whew, is that Bob Maurer himself I'm playing against over there? Come on. 3, I think we've gotten 4 cards off of this, maybe 5 cards, taking 1 damage. It's pretty good. Alright, I'm going to chump block the Tarmogoyf here. No reason to take obscene amounts of damage if I can help it, right? Go down to 6 and get double lightning bolted out of the game or something weird. But as it stands right now, my opponent has to have... Okay, that works. I was going to say, they have to have a removal for this spirit token and then have a removal for their own Confidant. And then not die to the next card in hand. So there you go. They took themselves out with Thoughtseize. I like it. All right, Jund. Burton Forge Tinder, please. What don't I want here? What is not good against my opponent? Honestly, most of my deck's pretty good against my opponent. I'm going to cut an Intangible Virtue. Actually, I'm going to cut these Zealous Persecution. Zealous Persecution, well, it kills Dark Confidant. I don't know exactly what I want here. Like, I probably want the pushes. Pushes are probably just better than the persecutions, although persecution is very good. Let's give something like that a shot. I'm actually going to cut a Sorin because it's expensive. Like, cut a Virtue. And I'm going to cut a Path now that we have the pushes, which is what you want against the Dark Confidants anyways, not the Paths. So, let's see what this looks like. All right, I guess I'm in. I was going to say, the way we mulliganed, we have some pretty interesting hands that we can turn up here, and this is definitely one of them. But you know what? I'm in. I mean, this hand's actually, like, low-key a nightmare for our opponent. Let's say they mulligan to 6, and wow, we're going to Thoughtseize them. Now, we are going to deal ourselves a bunch of damage this game. That's the biggest concern, and we did cut one of those Sorins. All right, Dark Confidant. Get out of here, please. Although I can actually beat Dark Confidant with a Zealous Persecution, but not really in a timely manner. The Bloodbraid we'll deal with later. All right, I'm into this. We just know we're under no pressure at all now, which is great because I am going to do myself a lot of damage. I'm going to put myself down to 16 next turn and then play Bitter Blossom. Okay, well. I will say this. My opponent hitting the Goyf off the top of their library, pretty bad for us. Ooh, never mind. We hit a Fatal Push. Do I do a bunch of damage to myself to play the Bitter Blossom? I mean, they can't deal with Bitter Blossom, so probably. And then next turn, I'll have all of my mana available to do whatever I want. Since there's no guarantee, there's so many things that could go wrong, even with this line. But if I were to try to do something greedy, I don't even know if it's greedy, I guess, but depending on how you want to look at it. But if I were to try to Fatal Push the Tarmogoyf there, which would obviously work, then I could play Bitter Blossom. But there's no guarantee I'm even going to hit a third land there to do anything. And my opponent on the next turn is likely to be Bloodbraiding us. So I'm actually just going to need all the help I can get. All the steady stream of blockers and removal. I'm going to need everything here. And it's still going to be close, I think, by the time this Bitter Blossom's done doing its own work on us. But I do think that this is one of the only ways we had to win the game. Hitting a land there is pretty nice. Yeah, I have a plan here. I'm going to fetch for a Plains first. Yeah, I'm doing myself so much damage this game. It is definitely going to be a challenge to close, right? That's my biggest concern here. But I like playing the Intangible Virtue here. It makes this fairy a little bit of a threat. Basically, all it means is that this fairy is going to eat the lightning bolt from my opponent. And that's fine. Wow. Actually, greed, a little bit of greed for my opponent there. They're going to Bloodbraid here. And they have the bolt in hand, but if they don't hit removal, then, you know, we might be able to just trade the fairy with the elf while pushing the Tarmogoyf. But obviously, my opponent hit the lightning bolt here. All right, well, that means we have to take even more damage, which I'm not very happy about. But in theory, and we got the bolt, so in theory, this will be the last bit of damage we take. I guess for what it's worth, I do have Revolt, but I'm just going to get rid of this Tarmogoyf here. All right, down to 8 and down to 7. You can see why I was saying, you know, several minutes ago this game was going to be very close because... I mean, yeah, you're looking at it right here, right? We're at 7, and we have finally stabilized the board, and that was the important thing. And now I can play Spectral Procession, and now we're turning things around, right? I mean, look at that. We have 8 power in play. It becomes 12 with the Zealous Persecution. If we hit land, it becomes 16 with the Intangible Virtue, on and on. My opponent's going to Inquisition us here. That's good for us. My opponent doing anything that is not impacting the board is very bad for them right now. And taking our Intangible Virtue is obviously good. They have a land, so they can fire up their Ravine starting next turn. But, I mean, this is just very bad for them. I'm down to 6. Auriok Champion is pretty good. All right, so they have 1 card in hand. Do I really want to Inquisition it? It can't be good, right? That said, am I going to play Auriok Champion or am I going to play Zealous Persecution? What I'm going to do first is I'm just going to attack. And if I'm going to attack... I should just play. There's no reason I should just do this. All right, we're just going to Inquisition our opponent here. Like, I think this is going to be a whiff. Either it's going to bait a spell out of their hand, or they just have a land. And actually baited a spell out of their hand, and there we go down to 3. Okay, well. This is what we were curious about. Here comes the Auriok Champion. Now we'll move to combat. I mean, it's pretty simple. I told you this game was going to be close. We need to fade, as they say, 1 draw step from our opponent. Bloodbraid's even fine. No Lightning Bolt, please. Just one-time game. No 3rd Lightning Bolt. I could even beat Maelstrom Pulse here. Auriok Champion is a sweet card. Has protection conveniently from all of my opponent's creatures except for Tarmogoyf, which is relevant, of course, but blocks the Bloodbraids. Obviously, blocks Confidant, and they have Anger of the Gods. Uh-oh. Alright. Well, the thing is, while that is annoying, it leaves us... I would very much like to draw a creature right now. That's what I would like. Hidden Stockpile. That works. That was actually very scary close because as long as we're dancing between 2 and 3 life, then at any point, my opponent can simply Lightning Bolt us. But now, I can sacrifice this Bitter Blossom token. I actually can keep that on top. That's fine. I get a Scry. I'm not going to attack. I need this to block. But the important thing is now I get another token, and I go up to 4 life. And now we have what is called an engine. But more importantly, we're out of Lightning Bolt range. And we still have the Auriok Champion to protect against the Raging Ravine. So, honestly, my opponent... You know, they had their window there to draw Lightning Bolt, and Anger of the Gods was very, very good for them, but it might have not quite gotten there. Auriok Champion is going to be a big problem. Hidden Stockpile coming through in the clutch. Like I said, imagine, in a previous build of the deck, and this isn't even, it could have been, literally, previous builds of the deck would run 7 discard spells instead of 5, and, uh-oh. So I have to discard, and they're, oh. That's pretty good, actually. Okay. I was going to say, that's actually pretty good. Because we were going to hit that Fatal Push. And I guess that would have been fine. My opponent fires up the Ravine. I Fatal Push the Ravine or just block. But to be honest, I didn't have too much going on here. We're going to go down to 3 from the Bitter Blossom. And then the Stockpile put it. So I guess the Lightning Bolt still would have killed us. But either way, we got there. We did it. Stockpile, really good in the late game. Previous builds, it would have been an Inquisition of Kozilek. We would have top decked it there, and it would have been miserable. And honestly, we would have lost the game, I think, at that point. To our own Bitter Blossom, maybe, or them fighting Removal. Regardless, we did it. We found Hidden Stockpile, and it was great. It was incredible here, everybody. That's why this version of the deck is good, and that is why I wanted to bring it to you. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. This is great. I'm gonna have some more. Hey everybody, here we go with some more Black-White Stockpile. However, not this one. We're going to mulligan this hand here. Well, I guess I'm in. Oh, man. I mean, I guess I'm in. We're on the play here. My opponent mulliganed as well. This is pretty ugly, but hey, we might be able to make it work. We're definitely going to ship that one, but... Huh. Well, now I kind of... Oh. Uh-oh. Huh. Turn 0 Leyline, you say, huh? I happen to be playing some targeted effects in my deck, I won't lie. There are some Inquisitions and Thoughtseizes in here. Is it Bogles? We're just going to get boggled here. Wow, it's going to be rough for my opponent when they get blown out by the Zealous Persecution, huh? I don't know if we're going to win, but it's going to feel good. Alright, well, we'll pass the turn back. I mean, if we win this game because my opponent just goes all in on this Boggle and I'm able to take it out, I won't lie, that feels pretty good. The problem for us is that we're not really putting any pressure on our opponent. So if they have another Boggle to suit up, well, they're probably still going to be able to do their thing. That's the problem here. And I have to burn Zealous Persecution at the first opportunity. because after it's enchanted with literally anything, we will no longer be able to get rid of it, at least without the help of combat. So, we'll see here. I mean, to be honest, I think I'm going to play Persecution, then I'm going to play Land Pass, and I'm going to secure the Waste for 2, and then I'm going to play Intangible Virtue. So, at least we can start attacking at that point. You know what? Maybe I don't. Spirit Link is actually not a problem. Oh, wow. My opponent doesn't even have anything else for it? What's going on here? I mean, I guess I have to just take it. This is so weird. My opponent just has a terrible hand that we should be able to run over. Wow, do I just want to take it here? Do I just want to take the 2-for-1? No. Especially since we hit a tap land there, so I can just pass back and continue to get them. That was actually pretty sweet, hitting the Shambling Vent there. It continues to sort of disguise what we're doing, which is nice, and now we get to pay it off here. We did Zealous Persecution. Until end of turn, creatures I control get +1/+1. Creatures my opponents control get -1/-1. Does not target. Doesn't matter that they were enchanted. Doesn't matter that they were hexproof. Doesn't matter that they're stupid little Bogles from a stupid Bogles deck. We got them. We even fizzled the Daybreak Coronet, and now, well, now we get to have a little bit of fun, I guess. So I guess I'm just going to pass the turn and go for Secure the Wastes here. Secure the Wastes, by the way, another card I know we talked about the Hidden Stockpiles, but Secure the Wastes is another card that makes way more sense in the deck than maybe a redundant token maker or a redundant discard spell or something like that. You just play Secure the Waste, and now all of a sudden you just get to turn 8 or whatever, and you can just make a giant pile of tokens, even if your opponent's killed everything else. Unfortunately for our opponent, we are kind of popping off now. Intangible Virtue here. That gets us in for 6. That's pretty good. Then I can Lingering Souls my way to a victory here. Alright, that should do it. This, well, I guess technically we have 10 points of power, but good enough. Alright, so we have 10 points of power in play. Not quite enough, although we could fire up the Shambling Vent to get the last 2. But we did it. There we go. Now onto the sideboard. What do I want? I want these Runed Halos, that's for sure. What do I not want? I do not want Path to Exiles. Those don't seem great here. Honestly, unfortunately, most of our deck is not great here. We have, I guess, the Wrath of God. It's not a targeted spell. You know, the Wraths are good. The Runed Halo is really nice. But if actually, Runed Halo is just huge here. We have Protection from the Chosen Name. I can name Slippery Bogle or whatever, right? So this is actually huge. Unfortunately, I've boarded out all the cards, and now we have nothing left to bring back. I guess I'll play Path. Honestly, it's a question of whether or not I even want to hedge and play another Path. I don't think I do, though. Honestly, I think I like this deck as it is, but you could make the argument you want a little bit of removal in there, because if your opponent is playing, and they are, of course, they're playing Course Spirit Dancer, in addition to whatever else they could be playing, right? And the Dryad Arbor beatdown, I don't know. You never know. I'm going to keep this hand, though. It's got a Runed Halo, which I'm very much into. In fact, it honestly might be the kind of... It's a kind of auto win card that sort of rarely exists in Magic, and I'm just going to let my opponent play this Boggle here, and I'm going to let them feel like they're doing something. Let them go to town, load it up. No reason to play this Runed Halo yet. I'll let you put all the enchantments you want on this Boggle. I mean, that should be good enough, right? That's why you play Bogles, is you want to feel what it's like to have a 12/12 double striking, life linking, trampling, vigilance creature. And I'm going to let my opponent experience that. I'm just also going to never take damage from it. But you don't take Bogles, you don't play Bogles to do damage to people, am I right? You just want to live the Timmy dream. Alright, so now things actually get interesting, because they've made it a 4/4. I'm probably not going to die next turn, right? So I want to not play Runed Halo this turn. I want my opponent to go all in on this thing. I'm going to play Auriok Champion. That's what I'm going to do. This is extraordinarily risky. Well, maybe not extraordinarily risky. It is risky. Because Ethereal Armor is +1/+1 for each enchantment you control. So, you know, if my opponent sort of goes to town here and puts a Daybreak Cornet on it and the Rancor and another Ethereal Armor, which, well, I guess they can't do that. They don't have enough mana. But the point is, it is conceivable that they could do 15 points of damage here. It's unlikely, which is obviously why I made the play I made. This is what I wanted to happen. I wanted my opponent to put the Daybreak Cornet on it. They're in on this thing now. I mean, this is the time against Bogles where you typically just scoop. However, in this case, our bait, so to speak, worked out pretty well. And, of course, my opponent might just have an answer to the Ruined Halo, and it won't matter. It's not like we've drawn discard to protect it here. Which is one of the other reasons we benefited from waiting. But I am going to play it. I am going to name Slippery Boggle. We don't have a way to kill them yet. But in theory, we will get there eventually, right? All right, so there we go. We now have protection from the Boggle, or Bogle. I say Boggle because that's how people say it. I'm aware it might actually be Bogle, but also I'm aware that no one cares, and we call it Boggles. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just kidding. I'm actually one of the most pedantic people about card names there are, but I won't lie. Too many years of calling it a Boggle has ruined it for me. All right, so now I have Sorin. So it is worth keeping in mind that I have protection from Slippery Boggle. Sorin does not. That said, I still think my plan here is fairly straightforward. I mean, heck, I could Sorin minus make a token. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do here is play the Spectral Procession. No, I'm going to play Lingering Souls. Play Lingering Souls, and then... Lingering Souls, and next turn I'm going to have 5 minutes. So next turns, I can do either one. But next turn, my white mana will be taxed harder. So this turn, I want to just Spectral Procession. In fact, I wanted to do that all along anyways, because it makes the most tokens. All right, so this may matter. It may not. Gaining the life here with our Auriot champion. So, it may matter. It may not. Our opponent's at 23. It's going to take us at least a little bit, a few turns to knock him out. And there with the Gladecover Scout, they do actually have another way to kind of get at us. So depending on how big they're able to make this Gladecover Scout, we could still be in trouble. And the life gain from the Auriot champion might be kind of relevant. In fact, there you go. There's the Hyena Umbra on it. It's a first striking hexproof. Not a problem yet. And my opponent obviously has no idea what they're in for here. But this is just going to get ugly for them very quickly. I'm going to go ahead and fetch out a basic Plains here. We'll play a Lingering Souls. Gosh, I should probably just flash back the Lingering Souls, right? I get in for 3, put him to 20. Then I only have 5/7 tokens, so that's not lethal no matter what. However, getting in for 12 twice is, so I'm going to play the Intangible Virtue here. Important part there of actually doing some math is we'll see. I don't think it matters too much. We put... Oh, it has... Oh, no, it has... Oh, no, it has reach. I missed that. Uh-oh, we might still be in trouble. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Mistakes were made, everybody. Mistakes, they were made. I didn't realize. I forgot it had reach from this thing. It may not be able to kill me, but can I ever kill them? I can. That's the answer. But I'm going to have to deal a whole bunch of damage at once. And wasting that attack... Oh, that was pretty bad. That was pretty bad. YouTube's yelling at me. I understand. That's fine. Okay, so... I have 5 mana here. That is still enough to do everything I need to do. That's pretty funny. Alright, so... This game's going to be hard. And I made it a lot harder on myself. Alright, so no attack. So this is going to be a lot easier when my opponent was at 23 and I had an additional token. And I could just wait till I could attack with enough things in the air to kill them even through the Slippery Boggle block plus gain life. And that's still the plan. However, by forgetting the stupid thing had reach... Okay, now it has a Spirit Link. That doesn't matter. Right? What's going on here? Yeah, whenever it deals damage, you gain that much life. So that's actually a triggered ability. It's not lifelink, so it would stack with the Daybreak Coronet. In fact, it does. And now can I... Oh my gosh. I have to do so much damage to my opponent to win this game. Here's a way to do it. This is terrible. My opponent is at a virtual 38 life, which means they're at a virtual 48 life, thanks to the Spirit Link and the Daybreak Coronet. Okay, so, I'm sorry. I'm working this through in my head here. I'm going to walk through what's happening. My opponent has this giant Boggle. It's a 10-10. It has First Strike, Lifelink, Reach, Vigilance, and Hexproof. It also, there's this ley line, that doesn't matter. It also has a Spirit Link on it, which gives it the ability, whenever enchanted creature deals damage, you gain that much life. So, there's something very important in what I just said. And that is, Spirit Link is a triggered ability. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage, the ability of the card Spirit Link, the triggered ability, goes on the stack. When this ability resolves, you will then gain that much life. But it is not lifelink, I believe. What that means is when we do get to our big combat in which we try to swing all out at our opponent to take them out, my opponent's not actually at a virtual 48. They're at a virtual 38 because damage will be dealt, triggers will go on the stack. But before those triggers resolves, my opponent will be at 0, state-based actions will be checked, they will lose the game, and never get to gain that next 10 life. So, what that means is my opponent is at a virtual 37 life. 38 life. It's an 11-11. So, there you go. I'm a level 1 judge. I think I figured it out. Okay, so back to our turn, where we are going to take 1 billion damage from our own Bitter Blossom here. And yet no damage. Oh, a second Bitter Blossom. And yet no damage at all thanks to the Zoriak Champion. So, like I said, I think we can do this. And we're not that many turns away. If my opponent wished for a couple turns here, we have a chance. Now, if they do find another Daybreak Coronet or something, and they load up this Glade Cover Scout, that might be a problem. Honestly, I have enough tokens at this point I could even try to group block it, no matter, I mean, through a lot of First Strike anyways. But the magic number we're trying to deal our opponent is 38 damage minus, so we need 38 minus the block in the air. So as it currently stands, let's say my opponent blocked the fairy, I would get through 8 times 2, that's 16, 3 with the Sorin, so that's 27. So I could currently deal 27 to my opponent, which is not enough because they will go back up. Now, I do think it means that I'd either have it or be a turn away from having it if I hadn't thrown away an attack earlier, which is unfortunate. And as my opponent plays more enchantments, this thing gets bigger, our clock is further and further out. But the things that change that are token makers, obviously. Bitter Blossoms here are nice. The Sorin, well, I guess only one Sorin at a time can be relevant, but more intangible virtues, that sort of thing. My opponent having a 3/3 Glade Cover Scout, it just doesn't matter at all to me. Let's see what we hit. Remember, we're breaking even with these things, but every time we make tokens, we gain life. I am going to play the land, I guess? I don't think it matters too much. The only way in which I think it could matter is if I were to play Sorin, then another Sorin, so I can plush twice. But that involves drawing both an 8th land and a Sorin, which, I mean, certainly possible. My opponent over here is a 13/13 Boggle that's just been neutered. Is this where we test Runed Halo to find out how Runed Halo works? Alright, fair enough. Spoilers, it works very poorly for you. Not that it matters, it's a free attack, obviously. Alright, I got some tokens coming. My opponent sees the clock they're on, so they know what's up here. And there we go, that was huge. That might be enough. That might mean we have enough next turn. I get to keep gaining life. And the beauty with this Sorin in our hand that our opponent doesn't know about is they know what's coming, but they don't know when exactly it's happening. They don't know that I honestly might just have this when I untap if they don't do anything too disastrous here. I'm not going to do the math until we figure out exactly what they've got, but we've got a lot of tokens in play, right? 8, 11, 13. Yeah, I'm counting, pointing at my screen here. 8, 11, 13, 16 tokens. All right, so that's 32 points of power we already have in play in the air. That's 32. 11 plus, so 16. So with 48. So with the Sorin activation, I'm looking at 48 damage in the air. My opponent is at a virtual 40. So as it currently stands, we're in the clear to try to win next turn. Now, that said, my opponent could have removal. They could make their Boggle bigger. They could, if they gave this stupid Glade Cover Scout reach, that'd be annoying. Instead, they've gone deep in the tank here, which is really interesting because I don't know if they're just sitting, they could be sitting on spot removal. That's certainly a thing the deck does. And, I could choose to play around the spot removal by waiting another turn, but that means it's another turn I'm not playing around Daybreak Coronet on Glade Cover Scout. It's actually kind of a fascinating game from my viewpoint, which is kind of neat, which is kind of cool. I'm enjoying this one. Don't know what's actually going to happen in the game, but I've had almost as fun actually strategically breaking this one down as I've had playing it, and it's been pretty cool so far. All right, here we go. It's a Rancor on the Slippery Boggle. See, I told you my opponent knows what's up here. I don't think this is enough, though. I hit a Thoughtseize. All right, well, I'm going to Thoughtseize my opponent and... Oh, just kidding. Can't do that, Leyline of Sanctity. Okay, so I think they don't have anything. That's what I'm going to go with, I think. I also think it's a pretty safe attack, right? Even if it doesn't work, I think we have enough. We'll just kill him the turn after, I think. But maybe that's not true, because then my opponent gets to attack... So, okay, that's not true, because then my opponent gets to attack Sorin, gain another 16, and then block and gain another 16. So I actually just need to have... I need to not go for it until I'm confident I have it. So, what do I have here? I have... Do I actually have more tokens than I thought? No, okay, I have 16 tokens. That's going to be 48 damage. My opponent's going to not die, I think is the answer, right? 48. Alright, so 48 damage, each one is a 3. My opponent blocks 3 of it. That means I have 45 damage getting through to them if they don't have removal. They are going to go up to 43 life. So, as it stands right now, I have exactly lethal on this attack. If my opponent has one removal spell, then they're going to end up, when it's all said and done, with 1 life left over. So my options here are, I guess, a couple. I can either go for the win, and if my opponent's last card is Path to Exile, I will lose. Or I can wait a turn and hope to dodge Daybreak Coronet. Given that Path to Exile is 4 cards in their deck, Daybreak Coronet is 3, and it's not even a guarantee that I lose to a Daybreak Coronet at this point. I think I'm going to pass. This was hard. But the thing is, if my opponent has Daybreak Coronet or whatever here, it's not a guarantee that I lose. It's likely or whatever, but it's not a guarantee. It is a guarantee that I lose if I attack and they have the path there. But just by waiting a turn here, everything changes. I mean, in a lot of different ways, right? I not only do I get to draw the Intangible Virtue and just not lose the game here, ever, my opponent, we made the statistically correct decision, I believe. And that's what matters. Wow, what a game. And now we get to play our Sorin. My opponent should be scooping to this one because I'm sending the team in. It's a lot of... All right. All right, we're going to attack with all these creatures. And we're going to see if we win. I think we're going to. All it took was attacking for, what is this, 8? So this is 8 and 10. 18 times 4, 72 damage. All it took was attacking our Bogles opponent for 72 damage to win. That's insane. Unless I've done something terribly wrong. Up to 43. Oh, it has first strike, doesn't it? Oh, no. Oh, no, we messed up. Oh, no. I did everything and I forgot about the first strike. What a disaster. But we won anyways. Just kidding. Like I said. No, I knew we had it there. I did forget about the first strike, actually, but I knew we were attacking for... This is why we waited. In fact, all of my reasoning over the last few turns, I've gone through so much work to try to spell it out and be smart, and I forgot that this does matter because it just has first strike. It doesn't have double strike, it's first strike. It's just too many stupid abilities. It's too much to keep track of while I'm also trying to talk. But we made the right play, though. You know, I waited, I played around what I could. In this case, myself playing around my own mistakes sometimes, but waited until we had everything. We got there. Maybe it could have been a little prettier. You know what? I would have looked like a genius in paper. Online, just because I'm online talking to you, explaining it, you can see that I made a mistake as I was working through the thought process there in that game. And I can't say I've ever played a game against this like Bogles. I usually either kill the Bogles player with whatever before they do anything, or I just die, right? Or I just rage scoop to Bogles on turn 3. I don't ever consider math against the old combat math against the 16-14 first strike, lifelink, reach, trample, vigilance, hexproof, second lifelink Boggle. What a match, though. That was cool. Everybody, thank you for watching. Hey, everybody. All right. More black-white stockpile, and I'm saying it's pretty sweet, but we are going to mulligan that one. Oh, and I'll keep this. Maybe not a ton better, but it's something. In fact, these opening hands have looked pretty rough. My opponent kept 7. I'll keep this, and I'll bottom that land. I do get to go first, so I've got that going for me, which is nice. All right, so we'll play our Godless Shrine past the turn here. I mean, you know, there are worse plans than have a Path to Exile and hold up Lingering Souls. But there's a lot of decks where these cards just are not going to do much good. For instance, Misty Rainforest decks. Don't really want to path that Noble Hierarch right there, do I? Okay, I do want to Thoughtseize, though. Alright, now we might be getting somewhere. Thoughtseize into Lingering Souls. Well, that sounds a lot more powerful. We're going to find out real fast if it's Bant Spirits or it's something else. Looks like Infect. Wow, well, this was actually just huge for us. I guess I'll take that Blighted Agent. What do you say? Okay, well, I guess this path's going to be really good. In fact, Lingering Souls is really good. Makes our deck... Lingering Souls is very good against Infect, against anything but Blighted Agent, and we just Thoughtseize the Blighted Agent. So, am I winning now? Am I ahead in the game? I guess I certainly have a chance. There's a breeding pool. We knew about that. Alright, so... Yeah, I mean, my opponent either decides to start going in on their Noble Hierarch here, which I don't think they're going to do, or they're stuck trying to find another creature. Now, oh, wow, they are going to go for the Noble Hierarch. This is kind of insane. I'm going to let them. Like, it's so tempting to just path it. You pump it, I'll path it, but why don't I just take 5 and then play Lingering Souls instead? And then they actually just wasted their Mightable. Well... Maybe we're not done. There's some mutagenic growth. You want to deal me 7? I'll go to 11. And you'll never deal me another point of real damage? I'm in. Works for me. You have 3 cards in hand. I know what they are. They don't kill me. You know, that said, I honestly can't blame my opponent for playing the way they did. I think they made the right decision. You have to look at the board there and see that if you're going to win the game, you're going to win the game by... You can't wait around. The black-white deck's going to have more removal. You just have to fight with the army you brought, with the army you have, or whatever the saying is. Dance with the girl you brought. Dance with the one you brought, right? Yeah. And obviously, you could bring a male to the dance as well. Dance with the one you brought. That's how it goes. All right, so my opponent's going to Apostles. As I work out, you know, old American idioms, my opponent is figuring out how to kill me with just a Noble Hierarch. That does now have protection from that. That can't be good. That's not gonna. You have to kick it. Oh, they did kick it. Okay. All right, so my opponent's gonna get in for 5 here. I can't block it. All right, so I guess we'll go down to 6. Like I said, my opponent had the right idea in this game. For sure. Alright. Well, I guess I just attack. You know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to... this is weird. I can't say I expected to be making this play ever, but I'm going to flash back my Lingering Souls instead of playing my Spectral Procession so that I can hold up Path to Exile for the Noble Hierarch I said at the beginning of the game I would never path. But that said, I think I actually have to path the Noble Hierarch here. Or rather, I have to hold up the path for the Noble Hierarch. Because what if my opponent had just, drawn another Apostle's Blessing or whatever? They would have just got us. As it stands now, I'd say things look pretty okay here. I'll just play his Intangible Virtue. I could play Spectral Procession. Again, there's just actually no reason to because, this is just lethal, right? It doesn't matter. We're not even going to need to play the Spectral Procession. We just need to not die on this turn. So, with Path to Exile in hand, that should be pretty easy. My opponent has dealt 0 Infect damage to us this game. I think we might lose the match. We might die on turn 3 twice after this. But you know what? Definitely get an achievement there for only taking regular damage from the Infect player. All right. Onto the sideboard, and now things get much, much, much better for me. I love sideboarding against this deck. All right, so I can cut probably all the Secure the Waste. They don't do much. Same with the Sorens. They're actually pretty bad here. That's just not how this game's going to be won. Or Champion not needed either. What's this look like? The Rest in Pieces... we only have one card that works with our graveyard. And my opponent has more. They have one card as well. It's their Become Immense. So I don't think I want the Rest in Pieces, obviously. Sony Silences, no. Secure, no. Sorin, Burrington. So let's see if I have anything to get this Sorin back in here. Honestly, not really. I think this is fine. From black and red, yeah, that doesn't help against green and blue. I think this is what we want here. We got the discard early. We've got lots of removal now. I love boarding up to 8 1-mana removal spells. We also have the Zealous Persecutions. So we have 10 spells in our deck to get rid of most of their creatures. Obviously, they have ways to stop it, of course, is what their deck does, blah, blah, blah. But 11 if you count our Wrath of God. 13 if you count Ruined Halo, just brick-walling one of them anyways. So my opponent's going much deeper into the sideboard here, which, I guess that makes sense. They just got obliterated by a black-white tokens deck. It's not every day you see that in Modern, but I'm telling you, this list that Michael came up with, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of less discard. I'm a fan of more hidden stockpiles. I'm kind of a fan of less Bitter Blossom. It's really slow right now. And it feels weird to say that when you're playing stuff like Spectral Procession and so on. But, in the games where they're bad, they're both bad, right? But in the games where they're good, Spectral Procession is just so much better. So I think that's, one of the reasons it actually does make sense to say something like that. Bitter Blossom's obviously unreal against a whole bunch of decks. It's better against, say, a blue-white deck than Spectral Procession would be. But against your Jund-type decks, give me Procession. So, I'm going to keep this hand. This hand is very risky, and in fact, probably just a bad idea to keep now that I think about it. But I'm very bad about keeping hands, especially... kind of when I record Mighty Modern, but especially in testing, which to me is anything that isn't a tournament with live stakes. I'm prone to just keeping hands more than I am to mulliganing because I just kind of like to see how things develop. You get a feel for the deck, in my opinion, that way. It is pretty easy to see why I kept to this hand. We have six worth of power and toughness on turn 3, and they all fly, and we're on the draw. So we have, we have the tap land on turn 1, so we have 2 draw steps to get to a relevant 2-drop play that isn't Intangible Virtue. It could be a 1-mana removal spell, what have you, right? And then we have the Procession on 3 if we miss. So on the play, this hand would have been much, much better, clearly. But it's still pretty good, okay here on the draw. I'm not going to say, I think we might just be dead. Taking 6 Infect on turn 2, huh? All right, well, I guess I'll take one of those removal spells now. Did it. Wow, how lucky. Okay, so... And I'm just going to do it now. I do have to give my opponent the land, but that is okay. If I let them untap, then they have removal spells. So... it was a little aggro of my opponent to go for the Might of Old Krosa there, but I understand why they did it. Certainly understand why they did it. You want to get the damage in while I have no blockers, and given how many blockers I have, it made sense. That said, it tapped you out. Now, we could still die. My opponent's got this Inkmoth Nexus here, and while Inkmoth isn't a problem as of yet, it doesn't take much to kill us here. You know, I'm going to play this Spectral Procession here. My opponent could just counter it. They could have... We know they play Spell Pierces, and in fact, they probably have Spell Pierce in the deck right now. So they certainly could Spell Pierce us at any point, which Spell Pierce plus a pump spell of any kind kills us. But also, it could resolve. Now we're only dead to Apostle's Blessing plus a pump spell. Any pump spell does it. I guess, ironically, except Become Immense. They wouldn't have a 1, 2, 3, 4. They actually would have enough. Instead, they're coming in with just the Noble Hierarch. And they are... I will not block, friend. Well, this is a very interesting game. What do we hit? A Path to Exile. Oh, a Path to Exile, huh? I think my opponent just has nothing. Because I'm debating whether or not I want to double Virtue here, whether I want to Virtue plus hold up Path to Exile, and to be honest, I think I just want to double Virtue. I don't think my opponent has anything. I think if they had something, they would have done it. Which tells me that I don't need to hold up Path this turn. Maybe I do. But if they couldn't kill me last turn, I don't think holding up Path is going to stop them from killing me this turn. Right? And it makes such a difference, too, because it's the extra turn. I can hit him for 9 now and then hit him for 9 again. But I guess they have blockers, so it doesn't kill him anyways. All right, I've talked myself into holding up Path. It's really hard to say. Oh, they just have a Nature's Claim. Okay. Guess I'll just attack with 2 of them then. Think this works out okay? I don't know. It's a very interesting game, like I said. I do think I made the right play. I had to think it through and talk myself into it, but I think holding up Path is correct here. So I was thinking of what we can lose to if we have blockers, and it's just Apostle's Blessing plus Pump Spell. So if I just hold up Path to Exile, I might be able to stop them. I mean, Apostle's Blessing, if that Pump Spell also give Hexproof, I mean, that will get me, but I think this lowers the number of outs. And it does give them more draw steps, but since they have cards in hand anyways, and they can always block with Inkmoth, blah, 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 I think this was the right decision. So now... Alright, so now we're going to chump block here. This is fine. I mean, we definitely need to draw some... more token makers like that. All right, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna get in. Well, actually, I'm gonna play this one a little weird. I'm actually gonna play this pre-combat so that I know whether or not it's going to resolve. Imagine if this just got negated or something, right? Then I would clearly not be attacking with both of my creatures. But in this case, I think it makes sense to do it first, so I know that it's safe to get in there. All right, this puts my opponent down to 14. I've got the Intangible Virtue in hand. I've got the Path to Exile. I have 3 flying blockers right now. This is tough for my opponent. Not undoable, but certainly tough here. I mean, they have 3 cards in hand. They need Apostle's Blessing. Or like Rancor or something maybe. I don't know. They need Apostle's Blessing and Vines of Vastwood. That's what it takes. Because you need to fire it up. Well, that's not bad either, but... In theory, you fire up the Inkmoth. You Yeah, I mean, this is going to be rough for them, especially now they're trying to block. They have ways, they have certain combinations of cards that kill us, but honestly, those combinations are somewhat unlikely, and they're under a lot of pressure here. I mean, they're dead. I could try to kill them this turn if I wanted. Guess I will kill them this turn. Huh. That's not a bad draw. Sometimes they make the game really easy. What can I say? Sometimes they make the game easy. All right, so my opponent at this point is just in a lot of trouble. Oops, guess I'm fetching. This is just so hard on them now. Everything's a 3/3. It does take all 5 of them to kill my opponent, but okay. So my opponent is just gonna die, I guess, or we're gonna get fought. All right, they're just gonna die. They could have fired up the Ink Moth, blocked one, and I think gone down to 1. But that's I was ready. I was ready with the path. I was ready to path it. All right, we did it. We took down Infect. Took down all of the opponents we played. So everybody, this deck was really cool. This is why I wanted to play it, because I knew how powerful it could be in Modern, and you got to see it. It was great. So everybody, thank you for watching. On a personal note, I am recording this in between some bouts of travel here. I was gone for the Mythic Championship. I was gone for streaming London. London's the next Mythic Championship. Streaming LA. By the time you watch this, I will have already done it, but I'm going to Tampa to cover Modern there as well. And I will be, hopefully be at least, if I'm not covering the event itself, I will be following and tweeting and so on about the event for the Mythic Invitational, because that's a big deal. Remember, I'm streaming it a little more. It's CHostler88 on Twitch, especially when I'm in town. I try to stream, but streaming is a big deal right now, and Arena is huge, and it's all great for Magic. And this Invitational, $1 million prize pool, big names involved, both on the playing side, the invitee side. There's going to be a lot going on. I'm really excited for it. So everybody, I hope you're enjoying the current new world of Magic as much as I am, and I love that. As much as I enjoy playing Arena and streaming that and all of these things, I can come back and play some Modern here and have fun with Black White Tokens. So everybody, this is Mighty Modern. I'm Corbin Hostler. Thank you so much for watching. A couple weeks ago, one of my views, and I'm doing this at the end here, so there's no more gameplay. If you want to get off, get off. But a couple weeks ago, some of my videos really kind of exploded on YouTube or whatever, and it was the most views I'd ever gotten. And it blew my mind in a lot of different ways. There's this many people watching Magic, there's this many people watching this, blah blah blah. But just it's just one of those sort of validating moments that I think matters a lot when you're doing this sort of content. You have those little wins, and it may seem stupid, and it doesn't matter, right? It at the end, my life is not better or worse because of how many views a video gets, but you do put work into something, you want it to do well. So validation like that, it feels good. And the nice YouTube comments are nice, and keep the negative ones coming, because that's how I get better. But anyways, everybody, I'll stop rambling. Too much talking tonight. Thank you very much for watching. This is Mighty Modern. I'm Corbin Hostler. I'll see you next. Hey everybody, welcome to the Deck Tech here for Orzhov Tokens. So I want to shout out Michael Siembor, who top aided the Modern Classic with me. So this is pretty cool, and I did change the sideboard to slight bit, give you a heads up in advance. But the cool thing about this deck, and the reason I really wanted to play it, shout out to him for doing well, is all about this Hidden Stockpile. I love this card. Love this card when it was in Standard. Love it now. Look, whenever you get to your incept, if a permanent has left the battlefield, turn into your bolt, you get a servo, and you sack creature, scry one. So in a token deck that has problems with top decking, it's actually really nice. I think it's going to be a nice addition. So what is the deck after that? It's Black White Tokens. You kind of know what to expect, right? Lingering Souls, Spectral Procession, Secure the Waste getting in here even at the top end. Lingering Souls, obviously. Then Tangible Virtue buffs them up. Sorin buffs them up. Bitter Blossom, of course, makes tokens. And this is the plan of the deck. You have removal with Path. You have Auriok Champion that gains you a bunch of life against the aggro deck, and has some pretty relevant protections. But Pretty simple. I mean, before this deck would run more discard and less sort of things like Hidden Stockpile or whatever. Try to have more of a late game. So now the deck does have a little bit of a late game here. Big fan of this. Looking forward to giving it a shot. So the sideboard, pretty straightforward. Your Forge Tinder for the sweepers, your Fatal Pushes against Infect or whatever. Rest in peace for Graveyard decks, Sony Sounds for artifacts. Then we get a little more adventurous here, I would say, with the Ruined Halo. Play against your Ad Nauseum or whatever. Give it a shot. It was in the sideboard. And a Wrath of God. Why not? It's full art, it's cool, and hey, just gotta come from above and take down everything. Nuke it from the sky. Anyways, everybody, that is the deck. Black-white tokens or Servo Tribal. But it is pretty cool. So, everybody, thank you very much for watching.